You weren't the one who bet the $500,000.
Nope, I can promise you that. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
Pocket change for the laissez-faire.
Yeah, you're funny. You're funny.
Mean Streets of Greenwich. Oh, no, it was Steve Young that grew up on the mean streets of Greenwich. You are creating a new generation of laissez-faire children growing up on the mean streets of Greenwich.
That's right. Don't you dare accuse my kids of being laissez-faire, okay? One of these days I might see you. So no, but I'm doing good. That was a good game last night. I mean, ugly, of course, as we know, but never felt like the Seahawks were in trouble or in danger of losing. You kept going, whoa, they're really flirting with danger here. Man, they could have put this game away a while ago. And I give Doug Peterson and Philadelphia credit for hanging tough, but ultimately I think the result was about what we thought, and the game was kind of the way you would think too. I mean, Seattle's the better football team on both sides of the football, and this is somewhat of a tough matchup, but a good win for them either way.
Yeah, it never felt like the Seahawks were in serious danger, although when it was 14-0, the Eagles mount that long drive, fueled by one of the worst calls of the year. Are you kidding me? The clear intentional grounding, where Carson Wentz, was that the play when the ball got snapped over his head, right?
Yes,
and he goes even deeper.
Right.
Yeah, goes even deeper. He's like 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage, doesn't get the ball to the line of scrimmage, outside the pocket, yes, but you have to be outside the pocket and at least get the ball to the line of scrimmage. And it's okay if the ball gets to the line of scrimmage out of bounds. It doesn't have to land in bounds past the line of scrimmage. It just has to get past the stick. And it was obvious that it didn't get to the stick because there was an official standing there as the ball was caught like 2 yards to his left. It didn't get to the line of scrimmage. And then the referee turns on his microphone and says there is no intentional grounding on the play because the quarterback was outside the pocket and got the ball to the line of scrimmage. Isn't that one of the moments where if you're Al River on at 345 Park Avenue, you mash on that button? I don't care what you're allowed to use it for and not use it for. We see way too many times where you've got, we're having a conference here. Pay no attention to me pressing my earpiece in so I can hear someone talking to me from New York. We're actually having a conference here. No, they weren't, and they should. And why are you even going to have that pipeline if you're not going to use it in that moment to tell them clearly the ball didn't get to the line of scrimmage, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, and you're right, that got to a dangerous part of the football game. We got to 14-6 before the half. You know, Seattle goes 3 and out. Philadelphia gets the ball. They go down, they kick a field goal, 14-9, and you're going, whoa. Yeah, they are flirting with danger. Yeah, the Seahawks, they dropped the ball early in the game, as we've seen, with a lot of football teams. You got a chance to put a team away, then you might be sitting there 3 quarters later going, whoa, we're like in a one-score game and we've outplayed this football team. That first drive of the football game, getting down all the way to the goal line, DK Metcalf not being able to make the block on Barnett on the fourth and goal. That was a big moment to where, man, you apply a lot of pressure on Philadelphia right off the bat and put pressure on Carson Wentz and that offense that's been underperforming. Then the next drive, they kind of get stuck in no man's land, right? Seattle again, and they get to the 4th down, and Russell's got nobody open. He tries to scramble and run, no first down, and, all of a sudden you go, wow, Seattle's dominating the football game, but it's 0-0. And that's life in the NFL, but credit to Seattle. They don't bat an eye. They just continue to battle and fight and do that. And, they just out-uglied the ugliest team in football in the Philadelphia Eagles.
First drive of the game, though, you're inside the 5, and you go for it on 4th and 2 because we're all aggressive now. We have to be aggressive. Aggressive is what we must be. The jet motion, touch pass, BS, in that spot, you lose 5 yards, and I don't care who missed a block or didn't miss a block. That's not the play. Is that
I hear you. I know. Your first
I could
thing
only
is
coordinate I could only coordinate an offense if my quarterback was Patrick Mahomes. But that was just one of those, as it was developing, it's like, what are you doing? No.
Yeah.
No, not when you have Russell Wilson. I'm a firm believer.
I get it.
You get in a spot like that, you keep the ball in Russell Wilson's hands so he can either throw it or run it. You lock into that, you got one option. And if it doesn't work, you're done. You keep the ball in Russell Wilson's hands, you can extend that moment before you commit to what you're doing, whether it's throw it or Russell Wilson sees an opening and he darts through it for the touchdown.
Sure. Listen, I'm with you. That was my first thought, too. Man, you're taking the ball to Russell Wilson there, big play. Just, let him drop back, throw a ball on rhythm if nothing's not there, nothing's there, and then he scrambles and makes a play, does something like that, like we've seen him do a million times. But I'm not going to fault the play itself. It was there. I think it's something that they felt like they had a chance and felt comfortable with through their film study and all that. And, hey, the guy made a good play. If I was going to fault anything, Mike, I would get on the old, the X's and O part of it. Well, I know this is DK Metcalf, and he's a freak of nature, but this is still a defensive end that outweighs him by 30 pounds. That is not necessarily fair to ask him, hey, block down this guy who's in the three-point stands and is going to come off the ball when it says set hut, like, just a mad animal, and stop him so we can run. That to me was where really the problem was. You're asking a receiver to do something that's not really his bread and butter against somebody else's bread and butter. But either way, they survived it. They fought through it. And Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, man, 177 yards, could have had 250 yards last night. I mean, he really could have. He's so special.
Let me just say this, and we'll talk about Metcalf in a minute. You're bringing back bad memories for Vikings fans who remember the 2017 NFC Championship game, because in my mind, the turning point, the dagger moment in that game was when they tried a play where a tight end was supposed to block Derek Barnett.
Exactly.
X's and O's, and Barnett blasts past the guy, and
Case Keenum fumbles.
And rips the ball out from Case Keenum, and 2 plays later or something like that, the Eagles score a touchdown,
Avalanche.
and that was that. Party's over, go home. So, yes, the X and O aspect of it, it's not a video game. It's not an automatic neutralization. The O can't always block the X. That's part of it, too. And then they go for it on 4th down again. I mean, that's the recipe for disaster. If you're playing a team that, isn't bad. And maybe the fact that the Seahawks went for it on 4th down twice in the first quarter was their own kind of subtle middle finger to the Eagles.
Well,
like,
I think so.
We know we'll be fine eventually. We can go for it on 4th down early. We can give you chances. We can give you a shorter field than you would have had. We don't care. Because you know what? You're never going to score enough points to beat us through 60 minutes.
No, I mean, I think that's very real, Mike. I think that's like going into the game, because Pete Carroll, as you and I both know, he's a little bit the other way sometimes, to where you and me come here on a Monday or a Tuesday and we're like, you got Russell Wilson. Would you go for it on 4th and 2? Stop punting and playing defense and doing that stuff. But he has a style in which he coaches. I respect that. And I think he went into this game, to your point, thinking that, like, hey, we're better than them. I have no fear of their offense. Our defense has been turning the corner and playing better, as we saw last night. And, what's there to be scared of in Philadelphia? What is to be scared? I mean, the 3 most dangerous guys on the field don't run past 4.6 or 4.7. Dallas, Goddard, Richard, Rodgers, Boston Scott. I mean, those are the go-to guys for the Eagles. So, who's going to be scared of that? Not the Seattle Seahawks, and I think that's what led them to some of those aggressive decisions early on.
And the game continued to be scoreless until the latest moonshot from Russell Wilson, the center fielder, throw it up, wait for your receiver to go get it. And the only problem with the play was that DK Metcalf was down short of the goal line, but the 52-yarder, that was the okay. The Seahawks will be fine moment.
Yeah, right.
It was, oh, well, who knows what's going to happen. They made some dumb decisions. They're leaving the door open for the Eagles. The moment that happened, it's like, all right, well, we know what the outcome of this game's going to be. Well, let's keep watching it, because you never know. It's the NFL. But at the same time, that was when you knew that it was done. And that ball from Russell Wilson, and there's the moonshot, and there's DK Metcalf. Decent coverage, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's
right.
You mentioned the 177 yards, career high for DK Metcalf, following the 160 he had against the Eagles in the postseason. He's got an extra large chip on his shoulder about the Eagles. We'll get into that, too, in a few minutes. But, the guy's dangerous, the guy's special, and the guy keeps getting better and better, it seems like, almost every week, as long as they actually, throw the ball to him.
Yeah, well, that's right. And, I think we've seen they take it to heart when they see one-on-one. They're going to wear it out. They do their best, really. I mean, I think they learned that lesson, in that Cardinals game a way back, that first time where they lost. And hey, it's a tough position for Darius Slay, the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he's a really good corner. I mean, he's a top 10 corner in football, right in that conversation. I'm not going to say he's top 5, but he is that guy. And, I think just to tell you what the Eagles think of him, the fact that they think he could play man-to-man almost every play and be on an island with DK Metcalf, I think just shows you what they think of him. But that's just too tall of an order to ask of just about anybody. That's to where when you get put in that position that much, listen, there's only one guy, in my opinion. You know who that is. I think that's Jalen Ramsey. That's the only guy I think you go, okay, you go out there, you play him, we'll see where it goes. Everybody else, I'd go, yeah, we got to dabble in helping him a little bit. We can't just leave him out there all game long against this guy.
Yeah, we can't. 24 hours after killing the Buccaneers, we're going man coverage on Tyreek.
Sure.
We can't say, oh, well, at least the Eagles tried. It's DK Metcalf. No, you don't go single coverage on him either. There are certain guys that you don't leave in single coverage unless you've got someone that back to the X's and O's, you can trust to cover the O. Some O's tougher to cover than others, and that's what DK Metcalf was last night. Unless the Eagles were just banking on the Seahawks not throwing it to him, I don't know. I don't get it. Because it's not like every time he's in single coverage, they feed him the ball. And as you said, Jalen Ramsey handled him, and he's struggled against the Cardinals this year. He doesn't get open like he does against other teams. But last night, look at that. 13 targets, 10 receptions, 177. The only thing missing, he didn't score a touchdown, but that's okay. When you score 177 in yardage, you don't need to score any.
You're setting up touchdowns.
You've done your part in helping your team score points.
Yeah, that's right. He's dangerous. He helps them in so many other ways. And yeah, that's a lot to ask of Darius Slay in that matchup. I mean, there's just no other way to say that. That's the way the Eagles play. That's why they went out and got him and paid him money, because they know they're a man-to-man football team. And I think they realized the last 2 years they just didn't have a guy when they wanted to play really good offenses that could match up and do that. But really, I mean, DK Metcalf is so special. And really, just like we saw with Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, I think they left 75, 80 yards on the field. Drops. There was the go route down the left sideline, I want to say, late in the third quarter where he kind of misplayed the ball and had Darius Slay there. But either way, Seattle's offense found a way. And I think the better thing for Seattle, when we talk about Super Bowl, because that's the class of team they're in, at least in my opinion, the defense for the second week in a row. And I know it's the Eagles' offense, but you see moments of them being able to smother. Defensive line dominant. Jamal Adams pops, of course, and they seem to get their crap together in the back end coverage wise too here the last few weeks, and I think that's encouraging for them in their Super Bowl run here.
Hard to tell though how that translates to an actual good offense, and we'll talk about that too coming up. Let's put a pin in this DK Metcalf conversation.
Right.
Before we do that, let's hear from DK Metcalf about the chip that remains on his shoulder because the Eagles were one of the teams that decided not to take DK Metcalf and select some other receiver in the second round of the 2019 draft. Here's DK after the game.
It's kind of like coming home, a place that had a chance to draft me, but, they didn't. So, I got to make them pay. One of the defensive coaches came up to me, and it kind of made me mad that he was like, I was in Detroit with Megatron, but you're not there yet. In my mind, I'm not trying to be Megatron. I'm trying to be me. So, had a little chip on my shoulder the whole game.
DK Metcalf told Lisa Salters of ESPN before the game that he thinks about being passed over so many times in the draft 25% of his day. Now, that may be an exaggeration, but it clearly is an issue. It clearly is a motivator. It's one of the things that helps second-round receivers become great when they do become great, like a Michael Thomas or a DK Metcalf. What the hell is Jim Schwartz doing? Thinking that Jim, what do you, don't stir. There are certain pots you can stir. There are certain heads that you can get inside of. Don't do it to DK Metcalf. And there's DK with the Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan took everything personally. That was part of his greatness. And DK Metcalf didn't have to make anything up. Jordan would sometimes make stuff up. You didn't have to make it up. When you got Jim Schwartz coming up to you talking crap before the game saying you're no Megatron, what's the what are you going to do? What's that going to do to throw DK Metcalf off? And you have to realize it's potentially going to set him off.
Well, wait, let me
Chris?
see that quote again there, because is he trying to pay him a compliment by saying that? Like, he's trying to tell him, hey, you're no Megatron yet, but you're close. You know, I don't think he's –
yeah.
I don't think Jim Schwartz is – I don't think he's trying to stir crap there.
Well, don't say anything because when you're dealing with someone who's got that Michael Jordan killer mentality, he's going to find a way. When you already have a guy who is wired to be pissed off at the team for not drafting him, anything that is said to him that can even remotely be construed as a slap, he's going to construe it as a slap.
Yeah.
And again, I'd like to think Jim Schwartz is smart enough to realize you got to tread lightly on that ground. You have a guy who already is pissed. Sorry, London. Apparently they bleep it when I say it. They don't bleep it when Chris says it.
I'm better at it.
Unless you're going to go up to him and genuflect and kiss his ring and or his butt, don't even try to say anything that could be construed, because anything you say can and will be used against you by the guy who is looking for anything he can use, right, wrong, or otherwise, to get himself in the mindset to rip your heart out.
Well, definitely.
And again, Schwartz should know that. I still fault him. Even if he was trying to pay him a compliment, you have to make it abundantly clear. You have to say you are better than Calvin Johnson. You have to do something to leave no doubt that you're paying him a compliment and not sticking the knife in him.
Well, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to nitpick on this. I mean, the damn guys, I know, apparently I could tell.
I am.
But it proves, I'll say this, because Jim, I've been around Jim when I was the Tennessee Titans there. He's not a jerk that way. He's not. He was trying to give the guy a real compliment. Now, like you said, maybe you got to be careful because guys like DK Metcalf, they should be pissed off. There was like 31 idiot teams who didn't draft him. So he's going to have one every now and then he's going, wait, hold on a second. You took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over me? So I bet you that really pisses him off. I mean, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is just a guy, and DK Metcalf is the guy. We're getting into just calling him DK because that's how good he is. We don't need the rest of your name anymore. So it's insane. And while we're on the subject, that's what you want to talk. We talk about Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson. How about some of the damn players on the field? I thought Brian Griese did a great job last night, kind of bringing that point up. Kind of goes under the radar when everybody talks about Philadelphia. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, second-round pick, does nothing. Jalen Reagor this past year, first-round pick. All the great receivers in the draft taken after him. They can't get diddly squat out of that kid. There's nothing on the team that sits there and you just go, whoa, they should be dominating. And I think we all misevaluated them a little bit, and I know they've got injuries in that. But when you talk about those two receivers, you talk about Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson, those are all Howie Roseman problems. He signed old guys and took a chance on guys that were beat up and paid them money. And I think we just can't forget that because I know.
Right. We don't need to pounce on. Howie got enough last night from the guy he once fired, so we don't need to add to that today. The reality is they won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. They were in the playoffs 2 years ago and almost got to the NFC Championship game. They were in the playoffs last year. Yes, it was a horrible division, but there is something wrong as it relates to the talent on the field and getting the most out of it. And I suspect that when they got Jalen Reagor this year in round one, this wasn't Howie Roseman in an ivory tower saying, this is my guy. I don't care what Doug Peterson thinks. I would suspect that it was an organizational, right?
That's not what you.
Of course. Now that the
back
ship
then,
is sinking
Mike,
and the
back
rats
then.
are jumping off of it.
No, back then, this was a thing back then. That this was a thing throughout the NFL that Howie Roseman was hot on Jalen Reagor. Everybody knew that.
But is he hot? But is he hot on Jalen Reagor because that's what his coach wants, or is it just Howie Roseman rolls out of bed and says, "I want Jalen Reagor"? There's a difference, and I'd like to think that Howie Roseman is sufficiently self-aware because he didn't grow up in the business as a scout that he's going to go to his coach and work with his coach because he's seen the other side of it when the coach doesn't work with you, Chip Kelly. What happens there? and we've heard about emotional intelligence and symbiosis, and I would be surprised if Jalen Reagor was a pick that Howie Roseman said to Doug Peterson.
I think there was a lot of selling.
I know you may want Justin Jefferson. I know you may want Brandon Ayuk. I know you may want some of these other guys, but let's go get Jalen Reagor.
I think there was a lot of selling.
It's hard for me to think. Well,
I
think a lot of things that aren't true either. So anyway, the point is they got and I made the point last night. They won the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and all these people saying, well, it's ancient history. Well, is it? Only the Patriots and the Chiefs have won one since then. There's 30 other teams out there that would have loved to have won it 3 years ago, including the one that fell victim to Derek Barnett and company in the NFC Championship game. But there are issues with the Eagles. And you know what? When I saw the story over the weekend that Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the team, didn't go to the game last week in Cleveland because he's frustrated with the team, that tells me that people are in trouble, whether it's Peterson, whether it's Roseman, whether it's anyone, whether it's everyone. Yeah, and even though you got a fairly fresh Lombardi trophy, if the owner's upset, nobody's safe. And, last night, for the first time, I just got – and maybe it's because it was pile drivers and body slams off the top rope by the guys who were calling the game, because it does influence how you view the team. I was starting to think maybe some people are in trouble with this Eagles organization, and maybe there will be some heads rolling when the season ends, if not sooner, the way things are going.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely got to be a reevaluation. We got to go back to the drawing board. I don't know if we're on hot seat territory. I don't think we are yet. I
think next year everybody is. I think
you're on notice. Right. Agreed. Yeah. And again, here, listen. I know I came in strong there, okay, about Howie Roseman and everything like that, because I got on the receiver topic, and, I just get passionate about players sometimes. He's done a lot of really good things. I understand that. All I was really going off on there is I was really mad at myself and just even the media in general, because we always make it about Peterson and Wentz, and I was just trying to say it's totality, like you're saying. It's an organization thing. There's a lot of issues here that have resulted in what we see in crappy results on the football field, and that's really what I was trying to get at.
I think the worst thing that happened to Peterson and Wentz was last year when they were 5-7 and they scraped together 4 straight wins with a bunch of no-names.
Yeah.
Because then you're thinking, hey, they can get it done with anybody, right? They get it done. They got it done, and now all of a sudden they can't get it done, and I still don't know what the issue is with Carson Wentz, and I don't think anybody in the organization does. So last night we finally saw some Jalen Hurts on the field, although that was clunky too. I mean, you put the guy out there for 2 snaps, he completes a pass, and then you pull him off the field on 3rd down, and Carson Wentz gets sacked. What the hell is that, Chris?
Yeah, well, again, they're searching for anything right now. They are. And I think they're trying to tell you, and I think the announcers are trying to tell you, Jalen Hurts is not ready to run like the normal offense and throw and make those type of decisions. But nonetheless, I think we'd like to see more of a niche in the offense, just because the offense isn't capable of doing much. They just need something, and I would be one to go, no, I'd rather see him out there with Carson Wentz. I think that's going to put more stress on a defense and those type of things too, because then you don't know what to expect more. But either way, they dabbled in it. It was clunky. I don't know what happened on the first delay of game or the false start. It's a different guy in there, different snap count, different rhythm. Guys panic. But, yeah, I'm with you. You'd like to see a little bit more there, definitely. But there's just issues everywhere. Hey, yeah, Carson Wentz is this issue. We saw all the offensive lines not special, all the injuries. And, they're outclassed more weeks than not right now.
And when you're going to send the guy out there, and there was some confusion during the broadcast as to what went on because they had to take a timeout. There was a helmet issue. Yeah, the helmet issue is Jalen Hurts went out there with his quarterback helmet on with the green dot in it when Carson Wentz was out there. If you're going to put a second quarterback out there when you already have your starter on the field, he's got to take a different helmet. Yeah. He can't take the helmet that has the green dot and the receiver in it. You're not allowed to have 2 guys out there hearing what's being said from the sidelines. So that was the problem, or we would have seen more Jalen Hurts.
Well, what I want to say to that a little bit is just like, why? Like, can we get over that? Like, whoa, There's two green dots on the field.
That's a different issue.
I know.
That's a different issue.
I know, but
until the rule
right.
changes,
you're right.
Thou shalt only have one guy on the field with the green dot helmet.
You're exactly right, though, and I won't get off topic. He's got to stand on the sideline with the other helmet in his hand the whole time, or somebody the equipment guy, and there's an equipment guy always, relegated or assigned to the quarterbacks at all times. You see that guy, quarterback comes off, gets the hat, puts a jacket on. That's his equipment guy. That's the right-hand man on the quarterbacks. He's going to be there all day to make sure, you need gloves, you need a hand warmer, blah, 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 blah. They got to have that guy on duty to hold that extra helmet for Jalen Hurts so that doesn't happen again.
Let's hear from Doug Peterson talking about the use of Jalen Hurts in last night's game.
The plan was to use him when we could. The way the game started, we just didn't have many opportunities, too many 3-and-outs. I don't think we got a first down until the second quarter. We just didn't. We failed to execute, so it just wasn't. It just wasn't. In the cards, I guess, so to speak. Early in the football game, but no more, no less than what we would. Use them each week.
You seem to suggest that lack of offensive rhythm was why Hurts was not more involved early. But isn't that I guess can't that be a reason to play Hurts more?
No.
And why not?
Because it's not about one guy. We had breakdowns across the board, and it doesn't really matter, who's back there. The mistakes were still going to be made, and something we got to fix.
I really do feel bad for Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, and because they have been good the past few years, and when it slips away, when it disappears, when all of a sudden it's gone, and nothing you do can recapture it. And I really do feel like the urgency builds and builds and builds and builds, and we've said all year long it's like Carson Wentz is trying in one moment to validate every decision that the Eagles have ever made about him, trading up to get him second overall pick, him over Foles after the 2018 season. Big money for Wentz. You can't fix it all. You can't rewind the clock to 2017, 2018, 2019 in one moment. You just have to grab a shovel and dig, and it just feels like they're digging the hole deeper.
There's not going to be, you're right. I mean, at some point they're just going to hit rock bottom, and it's going to be like, okay, I mean, this is what it is, and we have to reorganize our football team. It is a shame. Carson Wentz, he doesn't help himself, of course, as we know, with some of the turnovers we've seen all year. He does have that to, like what you're saying, Mike. It's the last play of the game all the time type of feel that leads to, reckless plays and everything there. But where I will continue to defend them, at least to a degree here, is, again, the support system. It really is. I mean, there's no run game to talk about. There's nothing. The pass game, there's nobody that garners any attention, any shape, way, or form. Nobody. The Seattle Seahawks can't play man-to-man, Mike. They were like, oh, we'll play man-to-man against this team. We don't care. They're like one of the worst man-to-man teams in football. But they had no fear of doing it against the Philadelphia Eagles. I was yelling at the screen a few times, Seattle, stop being so aggressive. But either way, I think that speaks to it. And then when Carson Wentz is also your leading rusher, and they have no Dillard and no, Lane Johnson, and Brandon Brooks is out. Yeah, their team is decimated, old, and has some young guys in some new spots, and they're just not ready for primetime.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.